self-esteem is, it feels that it's the very base or foundation of everything that we can do or cannot do at that
Mm,
process. Why is
mm.
it why is it so important today from your perspective that we kind of have a grasp of our self-esteem or our kindness to ourselves?
That's a great question. Well, look, just generally, Dan, I mean, the relationship and the value and how we see ourselves informs all aspects of our life. The decisions that we make, the relationship that we build, the belief in what's available to us, our appetite for risk and the action that we need to take. But specifically today, look, I mean, if we look at what's happening in the world at the moment, the world is largely defined by change, turmoil, and uncertainty. Everywhere we look, things are changing. The systems and the structures that we could typically pull a sense of validation and worth from, they're all failing around us. And what's happening is we're actually left with ourselves. We're having to sort of re-embody and pull from our own resources. But equally, with that change and that transformation that's going on outside, there's an equal amount of opportunity to be grasped. But ultimately, we're in the center of this, and we have to do three things. We have to cope. First and foremost, we have to get up every day and cope with what's happening. Secondly, we have to survive. Now we're sort of getting onto Maslow territory here, but the hierarchy is there for a reason. Secondly, we have to survive, and finally, we have to thrive. And without that base level of healthy self-esteem and the belief that we can cope, the belief that we're able to deal with things, the belief that we can see, believe, and reach our potential and take the most of these opportunities is so important. Because there are so many people at the moment that have either been forced to or have chosen to take the destiny into their own hands. Now, let's just look at the lens of business. Right? They're going to start their own business. They're going to follow their passions. If that base level of sense of worthiness and ability and deserving isn't there, it's a very vulnerable thing to do, to go into business for yourself, because you're exposed. You're literally saying to the world, hi, well, this is me. This is what I love. This is what I do. Can you pay me to do it? And you're really setting yourself up, and it's an incredibly brave thing to do. And if you haven't got that baseline of healthy self-esteem, all of those issues are going to start to come up, and then those behaviors are going to start to creep in. Those visible behaviors of procrastination, things of self-esteem, like things like procrastination, not really taking the action that you need to take, cycling in and out of what I call the resistance cycle, which is where we get overwhelmed with the amount of work we want to do, so we procrastinate, and that sort of ends up becoming dread, and our days are just defined by dreading the amount of work we got to do. And some things like people pleasing as well, which is a classic self-esteem strategy. Is we don't really want to rock the boat, we don't want to be divisive, so we just keep things on a nice even keel, keep everyone happy. So I mean today there is just so much agitation around us everywhere, politically, economically, culturally, socially. And also another point I just wanted to make was, we're always comparing ourselves to what's going on around us, right? We always have a tendency to compare ourselves, and whether you're an 8-9 figure billionaire or the other end of the spectrum, you're always looking at what someone else is doing at some aspect of your life, whether that's money, whether it's adventure, relationships, whatever. And 9 times out of 10, you're always going to be on the losing end, because there's always going to be something or somebody that's going to do better than you. But if you've got that healthy level of self-esteem within yourself, and that you feel good about yourself, you feel worthy of where you are, that suddenly goes away, and you don't have to be so affected by the people around you and what's going on, and you can stick to your focus and stick true to yourself. I mean, one of the strongest traits of people with very high self-esteem for me is they're consistently and effortlessly authentic. Now, I know authenticity is a word that's bandied around a lot at the moment, but what I mean is you just know when you see someone that's got high levels of self-esteem, because they're very consistent in who they are. They're very calm, they're very comfortable, in their own skin, and life just seems to roll out for them, in the way that they want. So, but conversely, on the other end of that is people with potentially unhealthy levels of self-esteem or issues around self-worth. They're the exact opposite. They're constantly trying to sort of keep people adjusting to the crowd, pivoting from one project to the next because they're not quite where they want to be, and they get stressed because they think it's not going to happen. So today, I think in particular, I think COVID is obviously the kind of the apotheosis of what's been a 5 to 6 year intense period of change in the world, and that change is accelerating every day. So